Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Now today I'm going to show you how to make this little bonnet. I've still got some ribbon straps to put onto this little bonnet, but I thought you might quite like to know how I made this one. Now this one, it's quite a small bonnet. You can make it larger. I've got this little sunburst on it, and this part of it is made up with the clusters and some single crochet and some treble crochet. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do this little donut in the middle, the little circle. You can either use a magic circle or a chain. I just use a chain. Now I'm going to do a slip stitch. So you just do your first stitch the way that you would normally do it. So I've got my slip stitch on my hook. I'm using a 4mm hook. This is just a 4mm. It tells you to use a 5mm on the packet, but I'm using a 4mm. So I'm going to chain 3. So 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to slip stitch into the bottom of my chain. Just pull your yarn through, and a slip stitch is when you just pull that stitch through that stitch. Now it looks like we've got a little bundle of a knot here, but you haven't. This is a little circle. Just prise it open until you see the middle, right down inside here. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to put 11 treble crochets into the middle of this little chain. I will find the middle. I'm just going to push my hook right through the middle. So yarn over and go right through the middle bundle of that little chain. Your hook will go through, it'll find it. There we are. Pull your yarn through and finish the treble. Now in the USA this is a double crochet. So I'm counting my chain as my first treble. So I've got 1, 2. So I need to put another 10 inside this little circle. It's 3, 4, 5. Now as you can see, the little circle does open up as you start to crochet around it. Now once again, your chain of 3 counts as your first treble. Then put 11 inside the circle, and then that one makes 12, even though it's outside the circle. Someone says to me, I keep getting an extra one. It's because they're not counting that chain. So you do your chain of 3 and then put 11 treble crochets into this hole, and your chain makes up your 12. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. To do is the chain of 3, count the stitches on it. 1, 2, 3. We are going to put our hook through that third crochet stitch on the top of that chain. Pull your yarn through and pull it through that stitch like that. So now we've got our little wheel, and we've got 12 little spokes on our wheel. So with the double treble, I'm actually going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to chain 4. So into this next space, each of the spaces, so into each of the spaces around this little circle, I'm going to put a double treble. So wind your yarn around your hook twice and go into that space, pull your yarn through, so it looks like we've got 4 stitches. Yarn over, come through 2 stitches, yarn over, through 2 stitches, yarn over and through 2 stitches. Round twice, we're going to go into the next space. So it looks like I've got 4 stitches, yarn over through 2, yarn over, through 2, yarn over and through 2. So it now looks like we've got nice big spokes on a little wheel. We're going to do this all the way around into the spaces between each of our stitches. We're not going into the top, we're going into the space. So we should have, including that chain, we should have 12 running around here. 1, 2, through the space, finish your treble crochet. If you catch one of the little threads, just pull your stitch out. Don't try and fight with it, because sometimes if you do, you're left with little loops of thread where your yarn split. 1, 2, make sure I go in the space. What we're going to do with our little ring is I'm going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now we're going to be using the posts of these stitches that we have running around our circle. You see the posts? We're going to go in behind there with a double treble crochet. To do a double treble crochet, in the USA this is a treble crochet. Wrap your yarn around your hook twice so it looks like you've got 3 stitches there. You're going to come to the front and go behind the post like this. Catch your yarn and pull it through. So you've now got 4 stitches on your hook. So yarn over, come through 2 stitches, yarn over and through 2 stitches. So you've got your first double treble of your cluster of 4. So yarn over twice. We're going to go back around that same stitch. It's the same stitch that we've just used. Yarn over, through 2 stitches, yarn over, through 2 stitches. Got a little hanging on bit there. There we go. So we've got 2 double trebles. We need 4. So yarn round twice behind that same stitch, pull through 2 stitches, yarn over, through 2 stitches. So we've now got 3 clusters, 3 double trebles on our hook, plus that first one. So yarn over twice, and the last time around that stitch, through 2, yarn over, through 2. So I've now got the 4 double trebles that I need for this cluster. Yarn over and pull through all of those stitches and crochet 1. That'll hold all that little cluster together. So now what you're going to do is you're going to chain 1, and we're going to do the same again to this post here, the next stitch, the post of the next stitch. So yarn over twice, remember that you change your one. Behind that post, pull your yarn through 2 stitches and through 2 stitches. So we've got 1 double treble on our hook. So yarn over twice, behind that same stitch, go behind that post of that same stitch we've been working on, yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2 stitches. So we now have 2 trebles on our hook, yarn over twice, behind the same stitch again, behind the post, yarn over, through 2, yarn over and through 2. We've got 3 on our cluster, we need 1 more. Pull through, yarn over, pull through 2 stitches, yarn over, pull through. So there is the 4 double trebles on our hook, and pull through all of those stitches and do 1 chain, and that holds all of those together. So crochet 1 and go on to the next one. We're going to put 4 double trebles into this, the back of this next stitch. It's 1, 2, oops. So we're going to hold the stitch on, yarn over, behind, through 2, through 2, so we've got 3, and this will be our 4th one, through 2. So we've got a 4 cluster of 4 double trebles. You've still got that little stitch from your work. So yarn over, pull through all of those stitches, chain 1. That holds, that chain that you've done, that stitch holds your cluster together. We're going to do that all the way around. So chain 1, remember your little chain 1. This last post that we've got, so yarn over twice, behind the post, through 2, yarn over and through 2. That's 1 and 2. So remember, we're just putting 3 into this one. And through 2. Now what you're going to do is you're going to get your chain that you made at the beginning of the row, 1, 2, 3. Put your hook through the top of that chain and slip stitch it through. So we've got our 4. That one becomes our 4th. That chain becomes the 4th in that last cluster. So yarn over and pull through 2. So I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2 and 3, and I'm going to put 2 treble crochet into each space all around the little circle of the hat. When I get to this one, I'll just put 1 in because I've got 1 there already. So I'm going to put 2 treble crochets into each space. All the way around the hat. My circle, putting 2 treble crochets in each space. So I'm just going to slip stitch it to the top of this one. That's the first chain that I did. Now don't worry about it turning in like that, it'll straighten itself out when we put the next set of stitches in. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So this chain will become the last stitch in the last set of double crochets. So what we're going to do is you're going to wrap your yarn around twice, and we're going to this next post, not the one directly underneath the chain, we're going to this one, and we're going to go around this post 4 times, just like we did with the ones that were down here. So around the post, pull through 2 stitches, yarn over, through 2 stitches, leave your double treble on the hook, yarn around your hook twice, back around that same post. We're going to do that 4 times around that post. That's 2 we've got for that post. This is the third one and our fourth one. So now we've got yarn over and pull through all of those loops and chain 1. Now that one, the chain that we did, will be attached to the set of 4 that we'll do last. We'll do 3 and that will make the 4th one of the last one. I'll show you that when I get around to it. So now we're going to move to the next post. So yarn around your hook twice, behind this post, and do your 4 double treble crochets on that one. So leave that on the hook, yarn around twice, behind that post, through 2, yarn over and through 2 stitches. We're going to leave that one on the post, yarn around twice, back around that same post that we're still using, yarn over, through 2 stitches, yarn over, wriggle it through those 2 stitches. So we've got 3, yarn over your hook twice, back around that post for the last time, through 2 stitches, yarn over and through 2 stitches. Now we've got our 4 double trebles, yarn over your hook and come through all of those stitches and chain 1. So work each post of the row that you've just done 4 times with a double treble crochet, and I'll meet you when I get round to the end. But remember, when you do your end one, when you're on this very last post that's above the chain of 4, you're only going to do 3, because that chain becomes your 4th in your cluster. I'll show you that when I get around. So this is how the back of the hat looks just now. I've got that one last post, because the chain of 3 that we did, because of the chain that we did, that becomes our 3rd double treble. So I need to put just 3 onto this one instead of 4, because my chain becomes my 4th one. So I've got 1, 2, and the third one. So what I'm going to do now is, that's the chain that we first did. I'm going to go into the 1, 2, 3, the fourth chain, the fourth space in the chain. Make sure I get it in here correct. There we go. I'm going to pull it through as a slip stitch, put my yarn over and pull right through. So that's the back part almost finished. I've got one round of treble crochets to put around the edge. So I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2 and 3. I'm going to put a treble crochet into the chain space, one at the top of the cluster, one in the chain space, one at the top of the cluster, and one in the chain space all the way around the hat. So that one counts as my first one above the cluster. So this one will go in the chain space. This treble crochet goes into the top of the cluster. So the US terms is a double crochet. In UK terms it's a treble crochet. Into the chain space for that one. This one into the top of the cluster. So we're going to do that all the way around the top. That cluster one might be a little tight. So I'm going to put my treble crochets all the way around, one in the space, one into that stitch at the top of a cluster, and one in the space, top of a cluster, all the way around. So this is the back of our hat now. All I have to do is I've put my last treble into the space and I'm going to slip stitch to the top of my chain of 3. And there we go. And that's that done. I've got 48 stitches all the way around my hat. I've got 48 stitches. Now this, it's a really nice and soft, even though we've got the ridges on the inside of the hat, it's really nice and soft, this yarn, because it is Caron Simply Soft and it's really squishy yarn. So now I'm just going to cut my yarn and pull it through my stitch and finish that off. I will use my darning needle and darn that in. Now the easiest way to do this sticking up part of the bonnet, this is the bonnet I've already made. To do this little rim around the hat, we want that treble crochet row that we've just done to sit up like that on the back when it's on the back of the hat. And to get that done, we're going to pick up stitches all around here where you can see where your treble row's been on this line. If you can see all these, what we're going to do, so I'm going to do a slip stitch. I'll give myself a long enough tail. I've got a darning needle here and I'll just sew in the ends once I've finished. So pull your stitch through. I'm going to hold that tail out of the way. So I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2 and 3. Now we're going to start picking up stitches, and we're going to do a treble crochet. So it's yarn over, and we're going to pick, that's going to count as our first one. So there's our two trebles, a treble here and a treble there. I'm going in between there, pull my yarn through and finish my treble. Yarn over, and I'll go to the space in between the next crochet stitch. So put your hook through the space and pull through and finish my treble. So yarn over, there's my next two trebles there, in between those, finish my treble crochet, and what you're getting is a treble crochet here, and that's going to make that little rim stand proud at the back. So my next space is in here, so yarn over, put my hook through to pick up a stitch, pull it through. Might be easier just to bend that over. The next one's here, so yarn over and go in here, through, finish my treble. So you can clearly see the line that you're following at the base of the row you've just done. We're going around there in between these trebles, just picking up a stitch in between there. So I'm going to finish off picking up my stitches. Time I get to here, I should have 48 stitches by the time I get to there. And then we're going to slip stitch to the top of our chain of 3, 1, 2, 3, just into the top of that chain, like that. Now that's the back part of the hat finished. So we've finished the back. Isn't that pretty? It's really pretty. So we're going to chain 4. The next row is chain 4, 2, 3 and 4. That becomes your first double treble. Now turn your hat because I want to work this way with the hat. We're not going to join it, so make sure the outside of the hat is facing you so that you get the right side when we do this pattern. We're going to do this section here, and it's a set of double trebles crochet and our cluster, our double treble clusters. If you do it with the inside facing you like this, you're going to end up with the bobbles will be facing the inside. We want the bobble part to face the outside. So anytime you're doing a pattern that you want on the outside, make sure the back of the hat is facing you. So to do this one, I've got my hat turned round so that the outside of my hat is facing me, and I'm going to work from right, left. I'm going around this left way. So this chain of 4 becomes your first double treble. We're going to do 2 double trebles and then a cluster around that small post of the next stitch. A single double treble, a single double treble, and then a cluster of the double trebles. So I've got 1 double treble to start with. So in the next stitch, I'm going to do a double treble crochet in the next stitch. 1, 2, wrap your yarn round twice, so into the top of a stitch, not the space this time, into the top of a stitch, yarn over and through 2, yarn over and through 2, yarn over and through that last one. So that's our 2 single double trebles. So in the next stitch, we're going to the little post of the next stitch. There's the post of the stitch. That's the row that we've just done. So yarn around twice, and we're going around that post just like we did in the hat. Pull your yarn through 2, yarn over through 2. Now keep that one on the hook. Yarn around twice, go behind the same post. We're still on that third stitch. Go behind the same post, and this is the second of our double trebles. So that's our first 2 single ones. This is 2 of our first cluster. So yarn around twice, around that post again for the third time. We're making our cluster. So we have 3 of our cluster. Yarn over your hook twice, and the last time around that post. Pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2 stitches, and yarn over and pull through all of those stitches and chain 1. So the next 2 stitches are going to be just 1 double treble into each stitch, into the top of the stitch for the single double treble crochets, and finish the stitch. Yarn over twice into the top of the next stitch, through 2, and through to finish that. So we've got 2 singles. So what we're going to have is 2 single or double treble. They're all double trebles. So 2 single ones, a cluster, 2 single ones, a cluster, 2 single ones, a cluster, all the way around like this, just like this little bonnet here. So we've got our 2 single, we've got our 2 single and then a cluster, 2 singles and then a cluster, and our 2 singles and then a cluster, all the way around. So the next row is just 1 row of our double treble crochets. So I'm going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to do 1 row of full double treble crochets, just like this. Got 1 row of our double treble crochets, and then we've got 2 rows of treble crochets. I'm going to show you what to do with the bobble though. So I've done my chain of 4. That counts as your first double treble. So I'm going to double treble into the next stitch. So up to the top of that one, do my double treble, and the next one, oops, I didn't wind my yarn round. Remember, wind your yarn. So I'm going to do that all the way around the hat. And once I get to this side, I'm going to do 3 rows of treble crochet. So once you get to this side, I'll just remind you what to do next. So I'm on my last double treble, and I'm going to do it into the top of this chain that we started with on this row. 1, 2, and into there. And that's that one done. Now I know this hat is a little bit more complex than the pink one that we did, but it's really, really pretty. Look at that, it's really pretty. Now this one's coming out a little bit thicker because it is different yarn that we're using. We're going to do this middle section, and that is just 2 rounds of treble crochet. 2 rounds of treble crochet. So we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and turn. Now we're going into the spaces. We're not going into the top of the stitch. We're going into this chain, into the space in between here. Well, that one belongs to there. So into the space, the next space. So in the USA, this is a double crochet. In the UK, it's a treble crochet. So we're going to go 2 rounds of treble crochet around to here and then back again. And I'll meet you when you get back to here. So I've finished my 2 rows of treble. What we're going to do now is we're going to do this bobble row again. We're going to do the bobble row. This one that's here. We're going to do this. And again, it's our double trebles. 2 double treble and a cluster. 2 double treble and a cluster. So I'm going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Turn my bonnet. So this chain counts as your first double treble. So into the top of the chain space with this one, yarn around twice, into the next stitch, that one stays in line with that first stitch there. So into the top of this stitch here, we're going to do our double treble, 1 single double treble. So we're back to doing this one where we've got 2 double trebles, a cluster, 2 double trebles and a cluster. So the chain counts as the first one, that's our second one. So if you remember, we're using the post part of the stitch. So yarn around twice. Remember and do your yarn around twice. Behind the post, pull your yarn through, yarn over through 2 stitches, yarn over through 2 stitches, and leave the stitch there. Don't come through that one, don't do that. So that's the first one of our cluster. We're going to do 4 around this post, just like we did on the bottom of the hat. That's 2. Go through. So we've now got 3 around that post. 1 more stitch around that post. And then come through all your stitches, yarn over and pull through and chain. And that's what we're going to do all the way around the hat, just the way we did this one. 2 single double trebles, then a cluster, 2 single double trebles, and then the cluster around the post. So once I've done that and get to the other side, we'll move on to the next part. So I've finished my bobble row. I'm going into the top of the chain that we did on that last row, yarn over twice, and into this chain to do my last double treble, if I can get it in. There we go. So that's the last bobble row done. Now I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2 and 3. I'm going to do treble crochets, a row of treble crochets. So that's our first treble crochet. So we're going to treble crochet into the top of that stitch, yarn over, so finish that row of treble crochet, and I've got all my bobble stitches sitting nice and pretty. Now what we're going to do is, so I'm doing 2 rows of treble crochet and 1 row of double crochet. So I'm going to chain 3. I'm going to do my 2 rows of treble crochet and 1 row of double crochet to finish off the bonnet. So I've done my 2 rows of crochet. I've done my 2 rows of treble crochet, and I'm finishing off my row of double crochet. This is my last row. Now remember, with the double crochet you don't put your yarn over, so you're just going straight through into your stitch. If you're in the USA, this is a single crochet. And then into the top of that chain for my last one. Now I'm just going to snip my yarn off and pull it through. I'll use a darning needle and I'll stitch that in so that we get this part to bend over around the baby's face. We're going to put a row of stitches in. This is the easiest way for beginners to do this. So right on the edge between your 2 treble crochets, I'll zoom in. So that's a row of treble crochet, and so is that, and that one's our single crochet. So right into these joints here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put my hook through and get my yarn. Now I'm on the right side of the bonnet, that's the inside. I'm going to put just one little knot on there. I'll use a darning needle and I'll stitch that little tail in. So I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2 and 3, and we're going to use a treble crochet stitch. So yarn over, and we're going to pick up a stitch in here and finish our treble. Now we're going into each stitch that's at the base of that last treble row, and what that'll do is it'll push that down like that, and then you'll have your row up here to attach either ribbon, you can put your fringe on, you can stitch some lace on like this, you can put some of that fluffy marabou on. So the easiest thing to do is just to fold it over, and we're going in between what looks like each little knot and picking up a stitch. So it's yarn over and then go in like that, just like we did around the back. So there's our next 2, in between these 2 stitches here at the top here, yarn over and pick up a stitch. In between the next 2 here, you can see the knot there and the knot there of that stitch. So in between the next 2, and there's our next two there and there, so we're going in between those two all the way along. Oops, I didn't do my yarn over and in there. So once you get used to this and you've got it sort of folded over, you can see where your knots are. We're going in between each stitch, in between those little parts that look like a knot. So yarn over in between these two. Yarn over in between the next two. It's easier if you just bend it over. Yarn over. And what that does is, as you can see, it puts this part down, and then you've got this nice little trim around your bonnet where you can either stitch on your marabou fluff, you can put some ribbon on, you can stitch on some lace if you want to stitch on some lace behind there, and that'll give you a nice little edge to go around for your baby's face. Last treble to put on the end of my hat. Pull that through. I've left enough to stitch in. I'll stitch that in. And this is the round. I wish you could really see this. I wish the camera would actually pick up the beautiful purple that this hat is. You can see it at the beginning. It's just it's got really sunny today, and it doesn't show up this little bonnet to its perfect colour. It's a beautiful lilac colour. As you can see, the light keeps going. So that is how you do the front of the little bonnet, like that. You can stitch some lace on, like I've got here. You can stitch on some lace. You can put some fur trim around the bonnet, and that is what you get, and it's really pretty. Now you might think it's a little too complicated, but like I say, if you go to the beginning of the video and you keep stopping the video and work as you're going along, if you want a bigger bonnet, the best thing I can do to suggest is use a bigger hook. This is a 4.5mm hook. If you want a bigger bonnet, then use a 5.5. If you use a 5.5, you'll get a bigger bonnet, and it'll still be very, very pretty. So I'm going to trim this up a little bit. I'll go and find some nice ribbon to put around here so that I can use it to tie around the baby's head. I'll put some nice ribbon in between these little sections as well, and I'll come back and show you what the hat's like, and I'll do my little bow to put on the back here, but I think it's pretty like that. But you can put fur trim around, and this is what your little baby bonnet is like. So this is my little baby bonnet all finished. Got a little bow on the back, even though you don't really need it because the back of it's really pretty. And this, even though it looks complicated, it's not if you work along with the video. I put in behind this marabou, I put some ribbon, and I've got it tied, I've got it stitched on here securely, and I've stitched it securely here. As you can see, it's interwoven in that very last treble crochet part that we did that sits up like this. This I've just woven in between. I wove it in between some of the spaces like that, but I've got it well stitched in here, and each of the little junctions I've got it stitched underneath to the bonnet and at this end as well. Just make sure that it's securely fastened. The ribbon around the body, I wrapped it around the last posts, and I've got it securely stitched down at this side and this side. It's securely stitched down so it doesn't come out. And that is my beautiful little baby bonnet all finished. You can make this in different colours. You can do different stitches. It's up to you. But it gives you an idea for those people that don't know how to do a baby bonnet. Gives you a good idea how to do one as well. So thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel. Please click on the subscribe button. If you click on the bell icon, you'll get notified when I post a new tutorial. So thank you very much for watching. Until the next time, happy crafting, and I'll see you all again soon. Goodbye.